Throughout every person's life, they'll visit a store. Whether it's a grocery store, a clothing store, or the kid's favorite toy store, you'll visit them numerous times. And as time moves on and things change, some stores just can't keep up, which eventually causes them to unfortunately close down. And as corporations get bigger and bigger, the amount of establishments with charm gets smaller and smaller. So before they're all swallowed up in some legally loopholed monopoly, I'm gonna go over some popular stores that no longer exist. Kmart opened in 1962 in Garden City, Michigan. It sold things from clothes to food to furniture and many other things. I think those are called variety stores, but that's what Kmart was. It was founded by Sebastian Krezg. I'm not entirely sure. The 18th century had some weird names. Now, what happened to Kmart? Well, on January 13th, 2003, Kmart had to close over 300 stores due to a lack of profitability. It just seems that the competition was beating it. It couldn't keep up with the likes of Walmart and Target. Before the stores were closed down, they had to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The chairman and the president of the company, Charles Conaway and Mark Schwartz, were accused of tricking shareholders about their financial problems, and they were using the money they earned to buy things like houses and planes, you know, the essentials. Conaway eventually took full blame and had to pay back all the money, which eventually led to the closing of the stores. As of today, there are only 12 Kmart stores that are still around. Now, this is weird. I don't necessarily remember if I've been to a Kmart. I've known of its existence for a while, but I'm not sure if I'm confusing it with Kohl's. Couldn't accurately tell you that I've been to this place and that I remember everything about it, especially since its downfall was before I was even born, but I'm sure it's shocking to the ones who shopped there during its prime. Fry's Electronics opened in 1985 in Sunnyvale, California. It sells electronics, as it shows in the name. From TVs to phones to golf equipment, it had everything you needed in terms of electronic items. Can't wait for the new electric driver that guarantees a hole-in-one or my money back. You can use a driver to get many hole-in-ones. It was founded by the three Fry brothers, John, Randy, and Dave. No, I'm not one of them. The company went out of business on February 21st, 2021. They say it was due to changes in the industry, but it was probably the pandemic. Can I even say that word? I hope I don't get yellow money signed. Here, I'll say slamthemic instead. I actually went to one of these right before they closed. I even saw the sign on the door saying they were going out of business. I always liked it there. The inside had a golf field aesthetic, and although I never shopped for golf equipment, it was pretty interesting. I don't know why Fry's just doesn't become like Walmart and sell a little bit of everything, but I'm not some corporate exec, so I'm sure they have their reasons. It's crazy to see that these stores are gone now, especially since I went to one as recently as a few years ago. Toys R Us opened in 1957 in Washington, D.C. They sold all kinds of toys for little boys and girls. It was founded by Charles Lazarus. That's a pretty sick last name if you ask me. It's like laser, but, you know, French or something. Lays are us. That's why, oh dude, I literally figured it out. That's exactly why he named it that. Now, as we all know, kids are the biggest demographic in the world. You give them anything and they'll latch onto it like an ant with syrup. So how can an establishment with the biggest demographic in the world end up failing? Well, have you been living under a rock? There's this company called Apple. They don't make fruit, but that's what they're called. They invented this thing called the iPhone. Revolutionary. Absolutely great. Took the world by storm, alright? Then they decided to expand their ecosystem and make more money by making a bigger device, which led to the creation of the iPad. Add 10 more years of improvements and culture shifts, and you have what we call iPad kids. Kids who live by the tablet and die by the tablet. The single mother of 3 children has to spend her 1 hour of rest wisely. So is she A, gonna spend it with her kids, or B, give her kids an iPad so she can actually sleep? The answer is A, because the single mother of 3 children cannot afford the iPad. Well, unless she gets one used, then I guess she could, especially if we go back by a few generations. Okay, then never mind. B, she buys the kids the iPad. The mother who had her son at 16 because she didn't want her boyfriend to wear a piece of rubber. iPad. Now she can somewhat enjoy her youth. and he can too. The super rich parents were gonna have a stuck-up kid with no morals anyways because they were stuck-up kids with no morals. iPad, brother. Pretty much every scenario, unless you were a country bumpkin. If you were born in the last 30 years, you're going to have an iPad. So why are you gonna want a stupid little plastic toy that you're gonna ditch in 3 months if you can have an iPad that you will hold on for the rest of your life? Or at least until your parent caves in and buys you a newer one. Simply put, toys just aren't that viable anymore. Kids still want them, and I don't see the industry dying out anytime soon. But it's much easier to spend $300 on your kid and have them be satisfied for 5 years instead of spending $100 every 3 months. That's more of a speculative answer. The real reason is because of debt, but I wouldn't be surprised if the whole iPad kid transition was a factor. It's pretty wild, you know. I remember seeing commercials for this store. I remember walking in these and being super excited. That giraffe though, I don't trust him. That giraffe is evil, okay? That was a demon. Somebody should make an EXE about it. It just stared at me, that's all it did. It didn't do anything else. I wonder if it closed down because it finally got a soul. But I guess we'll never know. I remember seeing all the posts about this store closing down though. I guess they're bankrupts are us now. I'm being real rude to the store. I don't actually hate it, it's really cool. It's just crazy to see how it turned out. Teavana opened in 1997 in Atlanta, Georgia. Teavana was a tea enthusiast shop, which is interesting because I personally don't hear a lot about tea shops, but it was essentially the place for tea enthusiasts, or at least one of the more mainstream options. So what happened to it? Well, they just didn't sell well. Teavanas were usually located in malls, and since malls have taken a nosedive in traffic over the years, that's also affected Teavana, which eventually led to them being bought by Starbucks in 2018, in which Starbucks uses Teavana for their tea. Now, some tea enthusiasts suspect that Starbucks did this to clear some competition, which wouldn't really be surprising, but they were already underperforming, so who knows. I've never been to a Teavana, nor am I a tea enthusiast, so I'm not necessarily a credible source for how good this tea was, but if there are any tea addicts in the comments, let me know if Teavana was dope or nope. Zellers opened in 1931 in Brampton, Canada. It sold things like grocery items, toys, clothes, and even home supplies. It was founded by Walter Zeller. I have never been to a Zellers because I'm not Canadian, but I heard this was a really popular store. Zellers also couldn't take on their competition, which eventually led most of their stores to be closed in 2013, leaving only 2 stores left. Those also closed down in 2020 when the company was bought out by Target. I'm not entirely sure how great this store was, so if you've been there, let me know how it was. Blockbuster opened in 1985 in Dallas, Texas. They had a variety of movies and games that you could rent. It was founded by Wayne Huizenga and David Cook. Okay, everybody here has heard of Blockbuster. I'm sure their downfall is a little more obvious. Blockbuster and stores like it were thriving until services like Netflix came along and absolutely crushed it with convenience. Why rent movies individually when you can just pay a monthly subscription fee and get tons of movies and shows? It was already bad with Netflix, but when others started showing up, it was pretty much over. All corporate-owned stores were closed in 2014, leaving one to actually remain, which is in Bend, Oregon. Now I know everybody watching this has at least heard of Blockbuster. This thing was big back in the day. The whole aesthetic of it is pretty cool too, especially the little twists people like to put on it now. But yeah, I kind of miss it, not gonna lie. I have quite a few memories that involve going to Blockbuster. The thing that's gone is just kind of weird. Radio Shack opened in 1921 in Boston, Massachusetts. It sold radio equipment, phones, and other electronics. It was founded by Milton and Theodore Dutchman. I hope I'm saying that right. It closed down their stores in 2015 due to many bad decisions from upper management, which caused them to move their business online, where they currently are today. There are still about 500 different stores that are independently owned though. I'm not sure if that necessarily counts, but I wouldn't think so since they're independently owned. Radio Shack was pretty popular in of itself. I remember taking a look at some headphones or some old DS games there. I know what you guys are gonna say, oh, this place still exists, and yeah, it kinda does. Look, I wanted more options on this list, and this was pretty interesting. Now, the experience may be a little different since the stores are independently owned, but it's nice to see there are some people that want to keep the Radio Shack legacy alive. Sears opened in 1893 in Chicago, Illinois. They sold furniture and appliances, all the way from couches to dishwashers. It was founded by 3 people, Alva Curtis Roebuck, Richard Warren Sears, and Julius Rosenwald. I don't know if you guys know, but Sears was massive. I mean, one of the biggest retail stores ever. It's so weird seeing a store that big, like, kind of going under. But for years on end, Sears just didn't change their business model. They didn't flow with the ever-changing tide, they didn't try anything different, so people just stopped going. As their sales have been declining, they've had to close many stores, and only 10 of them remain today. I mean, for how big this store was, that's pretty crazy. They had some in malls as well, but that didn't do so good. I don't know why appliance stores would be in malls anyway. If I'm going to a mall, I don't think I'm gonna buy a couch. I think I'll go to a couch store. Well, most people go to the mall for like clothes and food. Besides, that furniture probably look dirty anyway since all those kids be running in there. Now, this company isn't officially extinct, but it's getting there. Having 10 stores isn't a lot, so hopefully they can make a comeback before it's too late. It'd be crazy to see a retail giant just gone. These are interesting to look into. I hope you think so as well. It's weird how stores are so forgettable, but memorable as well. It's nice that some of these are still around though. It's like an ancient relic of the past. Hopefully it doesn't happen to more stores though.